Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Welcome back to the Misunderstood Show. I have Ravi. How do you say your last name, Ravi?
Bahal.
Bahal?
Yes.
Okay. We have Ravi Bahal on the show today with cryptocurrencies. He's going to teach us a little bit about cryptocurrency and the misunderstandings because there is a lot.
Yes.
And I have been learning about it. I got on the path last summer when I met you because I had been a little bit knowledgeable in Bitcoin, but this is a little bit different than Bitcoin, which people don't really understand the difference. So we're going to talk about that and the misunderstandings of how this works. And it's not a scam, and it's not a bubble, and it's not illegal, and all those things, right? But first, I'd like to start out with, can you tell us a little bit about you? So I met you at Coffee Connections.
Yep.
At NIA, which is Stacy's group. It's networking in action.
Yes.
And I just love everybody in that group.
Yes.
I mean, we had Micah on the show. We've had, I could
Scott.
Scott was on the show. I have a hard time remembering everybody I have on the show.
Whitney.
Whitney?
The one with two first names. The
Whitney
hypnotist.
Christina.
Whitney,
she was on. I just met with her actually this morning again.
Okay.
We're doing a class. Actually, that day she was on the show, we came up with an idea.
Okay.
And so we're actually putting a class on. But anyway, yeah. So tell me, how did you end up in NIA, and where? Come a little bit of background, like where are you from? You're from Texas, right?
Yeah, right.
From Lubbock. The accent, you know.
No, actually, I was born in India, studied in the States in 1977, and then, moved through corporate life, and then I moved to Japan.
What were you doing in corporate?
I was heading up some big departments and big divisions. I was the youngest CEO of a company at 39.
Wow.
Educationally, I have a master's in material science, and I have another master's in business.
Okay.
So the one in engineering is from Cincinnati. The one in business, it was actually an executive MBA program that's from Pepperdine in Malibu, California.
Wow.
So
that's fancy.
Yeah. So worked my way through corporate, turning companies around, bringing them to profitability. Moved to Japan, lived there about a year and a half. From there, I moved to China, lived there about 6 years. And when it was time to come back home, because of the way my cryptos had performed, it was a choice. Do I go back to Southern California, or do I come to a place that's more patriotic, freedom-loving, not as woke? And that was important for me. Mm-hmm. So Texas was the obvious choice. Here people, they love the country, they love their freedom, and they stand up for good, in general. So I picked Houston. I thought I wouldn't be accepted so easily, but...
And why did you think that?
Texans, you just... I didn't know, how it would be.
A lot of people think they come here and we're a bunch of cowboys running around.
Yeah, and, not only fiercely independent, but very, like, a cohesively close-knit group.
Cliquish.
Cliquish. So, but as I was just talking to somebody on the drive here just now, it's been amazing. The people here have been absolutely fantastic.
Right. Well, we're not in Houston.
Yeah.
We're in Montgomery County. A little different.
Well, yeah.
I feel like Montgomery County, especially the Woodlands, is you have a mod podge of people from all over the world.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of diversity.
There is.
I love that, especially for my kids going to school there.
Yes.
They're exposed to a lot of diversity, and I just feel like there's less cliquishness.
Yeah. Yeah.
more open-mindedness.
Yep. Yep.
I definitely agree with that. It's a little hot and humid here. I bet you miss the weather in California.
Yeah, because we lived. My family is still there. We live in Newport Beach, which
Because
is
you have a daughter, a beautiful, gorgeous supermodel daughter.
yeah. She was actually a model for Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
So
You hear that, Dick? Seriously, is she single?
yeah.
Most eligible bachelor in
Yeah.
Montgomery County, right
Yeah.
there.
And so our youngest daughters here, the older one and her mom, are still in Newport.
Okay.
So it's right by the ocean, the Pacific Ocean.
I bet they love it there.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't move here. But
I mean, I kind of don't blame them in a sense, but at the same time, the patrioticness of Texas
yeah.
is something that I don't know if I could be around a bunch of woke. People.
True.
Because of my own beliefs.
Yep, correct.
So how did you become so patriotic? You're from India.
I just think, first of all, I adapted to this culture very quickly.
You were very young, right? Right
Yeah.
out of high school?
Yeah. I came here for my master's, but I was very young. I was, I think, 17
Wow.
because the college I went to, it's the dropouts from that college go on to MIT. So it's a very high level
Wow.
educational programs. And I was young, so when I came to the States, I was, about 17. And I graduated pretty quickly. But no, it's just, it was very natural for me when I came here. I never, ever felt, out of place or discriminated. And, I value wholesomeness,
Right.
I don't have time or patience for the woke agenda. I like to call it as I see it. One must have
Right.
the freedom to speak,
Right.
speak their mind. And that's what this country was all about. Mm-hmm. And then it completely got dismantled in the last 8 to 12 years. And I think we're back on track.
I think it's been longer than that. I mean,
Maybe longer.
There's been some deep-seated issues with money and power for a very long time. I mean, look at our food industry, how corrupt the food industry is.
And medical.
The medical industry.
Yeah.
All these agencies that are doing literally nothing and making all of this money. And why we don't even know what they're for.
And the U.S. aid.
They're just collecting a check.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this is complete and total corruption. It didn't
Yes.
happen it didn't happen in the Biden administration, which a lot of people want to blame Biden. I'm not saying
Right.
that he hasn't done a lot of terrible things.
Yeah.
I mean, he pardoned how many people that were
Yeah.
murderers and
Yep.
rapists?
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
this is absolutely absurd.
Yep.
He pulled out of Afghanistan and left millions of dollars in
Billions.
equipment, billions of
Yep.
dollars in equipment, left our soldiers,
Yep.
left innocent people.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, obviously he pardoned his son, who is a huge tax evader and was trying to write off prostitutes and all kinds of stuff. I am very educated on that because of social media and outlets, podcasts, and things like that. We're able to get the truth out. This has been going on for a long time. And
that is true.
But
Yeah.
there's also all the fake news that's going on.
Yep.
So you don't know what to believe.
Yep.
And that's what cryptocurrency, I think, has gotten a bad rap, because these people with an agenda, they don't want you to know the truth about cryptocurrency. So they're going to spread rumors. It's kind of like your haters at school. When I was in school, I had a handful of girls that were haters, and they would spread these vicious rumors about me that were not true. And, there's an agenda there. And so I feel like our government is like a bunch of little girls in high school, like Mean Girls. And it's very immature. It's very selfish. And it's not going to get them anywhere in the long run, because people now are realizing that they can't trust these people.
Yep.
And thank goodness we have an administration now that's trying to actually do something to correct all of these things. And I think that is going to be the future of America, is going to be not listening to these people, fact checking, and possibly cryptocurrency.
And-
Because
yep.
people are done with, the lies and
Yes.
the rumors and,
Yeah.
and all that stuff. So I want to talk about the cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
What is a blockchain?
Yeah.
I didn't know what a blockchain was. I had no idea. I watched a documentary. I kind of understand it, but it's just, I guess if I'm not, educated in engineering or MIT or, I'm like we talked about earlier, kind of a dodo brain when it comes to this kind of stuff. I'm very educated in many other things, but this is very hard for me to wrap my brain around what it is because it's not physical. It's not something I can touch or see or understand how to build or how it works. Like an engine, I can take an engine apart and see how it works and understand it.
Yep.
This is very difficult for people like me who are very visual, hands-on, to
Yep.
understand how it works.
Yeah. If this concept is difficult, then envisioning the US dollar should be even more difficult because it's backed by air. Okay.
Well, we know this.
Yeah. So they both cannot really be touched. But okay.
It's supposed to be backed by our
It's supposed to be, but
gold and
but-
all the things
yeah,
we have saved.
But Nixon took it off the gold standard in 71. Or
Right.
Was it 71 or 77? I don't remember. And, he took it off, and it was,
Watergate was in 77.
maybe it was 71. And it was supposed to be temporary, decoupling from the gold backing, but it wasn't. And that's what gave them a license to print forever. But let's go back to blockchain and cryptocurrencies, and they're different. If you walk into a room and you turn on the light, you just want the lights to come on. And you don't care about the physics of how is electricity generated, what are the power losses from the dam to the house. You don't care about all that. You just want the lights to come on. But you don't care about the physics. Well, cryptocurrencies are like the light. But what's the technology that they're riding on? What's the physics of electricity, the physics of transmission? What's the technology? That is blockchain. Okay? Now, blockchain is revolutionizing everything that we have. Why? Because blockchain is, and I can tell you a little bit about, can I give you a little history of the blockchain?
Yeah.
Okay. After the financial crisis in 2008, a entity called Satoshi Nakamoto.
That nobody knows who this person is.
No one knows who it is. We don't know if it's a male, a female, a government, the NSA. We don't know who it is. But this anonymous entity, we think we know who it is.
Oh,
but,
yeah, that dude on the yacht.
It's actually 4 people, we think.
Okay.
But in any case, let's just say it's a single person. Satoshi released a white paper. It was a 9-page document in 2009 saying that, see, what banks do routinely every 7 to 10 years, there's a crisis created because of all their reckless loans and subprime loans and stuff. So
When they just find another way to do it.
yeah. So why do we need to rely on banks? Why do we need an intermediary? Why don't we just do
It's like cutting out the
peer-to-peer?
middleman.
Cut out the middleman, okay? So he introduced this concept of peer-to-peer transactions. Well, it immediately caught the fancy of the nerds, the techies, the libertarians. They said, yeah, that's great. Why do we need the government? We want to be able to use our money as we please. So Satoshi, in his white paper, he said, I'm going to show you how to do peer-to-peer. And he outlined the blockchain, and the first crypto that was going to be produced was called Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin is the granddaddy. It has the biggest name recognition, but there are about 29,000 cryptocurrencies. 99% of them, 99.9% of them will fail for one of 3 reasons. One, they were scams to begin with. 2, they were written on very poor code, so the code gets hacked, the funds are depleted. Or the team that created this project loses interest and they move on to something else. So 99.9% of cryptocurrencies will fail. The ones that will survive are the ones that provide utility, that are solving a real world problem. But coming back to Bitcoin, so he said, I'm going to mine my first Genesis block. Now, what is mining of Bitcoin? I know it sounds crazy, but basically, when computers are working like heck to solve a very complex math problem, and when that problem is solved, a block is generated. And I'll explain a little bit more about it. So Bitcoin, it's called digital gold, just as physical gold has value. What gives something value? The amount of work that goes into it, the amount of resources, the energy, the people. A pebble sitting outside has no value. But why does gold, platinum, rhodium, why do they have? What gives anything value is the amount of labor
And demand.
and then, of course, the demand, but the amount of resources that are expended in producing a product. Then, of course, the demand.
That everybody can't just go do it.
Yeah. So,
Not everybody can just go mine gold. Not
Yeah.
everybody can just go mine a Bitcoin.
yes, yeah.
You have to have, and I know a guy that had this, he had rented this huge office space and it was full of computers and fans and all kinds of stuff.
Yes, yes.
And I was like, what are you doing?
Yes.
And he's like, I'm mining Bitcoin.
Yes.
I'm like, what?
And-
What are you talking? This was
And I'll
15
explain
years
that.
ago.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so,
I should have invested.
okay. So in any case, so Bitcoin, it's called digital gold, just like physical gold is gold, okay? And so what it's doing is it's digitally, computers are working to solve a particular problem.
And that problem, is it bought on the market when it's solved?
No, no. So what happens is a block is produced, and I'll explain what that means, okay? So, okay, now the blockchain is a open, transparent ledger. That means every single transaction is recorded on the blockchain. Okay, now, sorry. So what Satoshi said was, he said, look, this is a very transparent system. Any of you around the world are welcome to log into the blockchain and see what I'm doing. So there were all these computers from around the world that said, yeah, we want to log in. And any one of us with a laptop, we can tap into the blockchain and download it. Now, yes, it would take our computers maybe 48 hours because it has to sync with the blockchain that was started in 2009. And this is 2025. So it has to sync and it has to download the entire blockchain. Currently, there are about 22,000 people around the planet that are logged in, that are watching electronically the blockchain. Each of these 22,000 people, he could be in Iceland, he could be in Indonesia, in Germany, in New Zealand, in the woodlands. None of them knows each other, but they are all tapped into the blockchain. There are about 22,000 people. Okay. So suppose I go in and I put in a sell order for, we'll just talk Bitcoin because that's the one that's most easily recognized, but it really doesn't have a lot of utility. That we can talk about later. So let's just talk Bitcoin for now. So I put in a sell order for, say, 10 Bitcoin. And 10 Bitcoin at today's prices is $1 million. But I don't have the 10 Bitcoin. But I'm trying to scam the system. I put in a sell order thinking, you know what, somebody will buy this fictitious Bitcoin, send me the $1 million, and I'll just disappear. So I put in a sell order for 10 Bitcoin. All these nodes are watching and they are saying, wait a minute, this entity, now they don't know me by name. They know me by a 32-digit hexadecimal code. It's like an account number. Mm-hmm. So they say, hey, this account number has just landed and he's or she is planning to sell 10 Bitcoin. But we don't have a record of him having bought 10 Bitcoin. So how can he put a sell order? So they reject the transaction. So I've just explained to you two of the concepts of blockchain. One, it is transparent. Everybody can see it, unlike the banks. You don't know what the banks are doing. They're very opaque. But you can see everything on the it's open to anyone. And the second is consensus. What does that mean? Okay. So these 22,000 nodes are watching it. They have to agree that it's a legitimate transaction for it to go through. But if they don't, then it gets kicked out. So it's transparent and it works by consensus. Now, out of all these 22,000, let's say you are here, you're running a node, and I call you and I say, Karen, I'm going to put a sell order for 10 Bitcoin. I'll share half with you. You just go ahead and give it a thumbs up. All these other nodes may not agree, but you just say it's legit. So the minute you, and they only know you as a node operator, the minute you say, yes, it's a good transaction, immediately the others say, we have a bad actor. He has approved a transaction that is fraudulent. So you get blacklisted. You don't want to get blacklisted because then you cannot partake in the blockchain network.
But can't you just get a new number?
No, you will have your address, right? You'll be identified by your address. So it's like your IP address stays the same, right? So they will identify you unless you completely move to a different location. But why do you not want to get blacklisted? Because then you've spent all this money on computers, hundreds of computers that are running day and night. They're trying to solve this problem. You have lost all your investment in capital, in people, in resources, in electricity. You don't want to be the black sheep. The incentive to play by the rules is, if you play by the rules, then when the transaction gets approved by consensus, you get a piece of the reward, which is a piece of Bitcoin. So that allows you to recover your costs because you can sell the Bitcoin and recover all your costs. So it works, it's transparent, it works by consensus, and the huge motivation is to play by the rules so that you can earn your reward. It is truth. Okay. Now, the blockchain is completely immutable or incorruptible or irreversible. What does that mean? About 700,000 blocks have been mined from 2009. Each block contains the DNA of the previous block, going all the way back to 2009. If you try to mess around with this particular block, you have to go and change the DNA of this block. You have to go change the DNA of this one. You have to go change. But every 10 minutes, a new block is being produced. So while you're playing with these, new ones are forming. Now you got to run to the front of the line and start manipulating those. It will cost you trillions of dollars and hundreds of thousands of years.
You don't think AI can do that?
Cannot do it. AI won't do it because now they're already working on quantum proofing it. It's not, AI is not the concern.
What does that mean, quantum proving it?
Well, AI is not the concern. Quantum proof is the concern, which is quantum computers can do, Google just released Willow, their latest quantum computer, about a month ago.
Okay.
It computed something in 30 minutes that normal computers will take 10 to the power of 27 years to do.
Wow.
This computer did it in 30 minutes. Now, this technology is still at least 10 or 12 years away because quantum computers work on, they cannot see any heat, okay, or it destroys the atoms. So they're working at cryogenic temperatures at minus 273 degrees because even the slightest amount of heat will disrupt all the atoms. So it is extremely expensive and the technology hasn't gotten there yet. So AI is not the concern. In fact, there's another thing that's evolving with AI and blockchain, but we can talk about that later. But so AI is not the concern. If anything, quantum computing is the concern. So many of the cryptos now are positioning and pivoting and quantum proofing their blockchain. Okay? So AI is not the concern. If anything, AI and blockchain are going to work very, very well. In fact, let me jump to that. Okay. There's something called decentralized finance, which means, again, you don't work with the banks. Through the market makers, you can loan and buy, you can loan, you can borrow, you can create liquidity in a pool. You can do all that without the banks. This is called decentralized finance. And you can make interest rates of 80%, 90%. It's incredible, 220%. And it's all done on these automated market makers that are running on code. Okay? And why can you trust code? Because code is law. 2 plus 2 will always be 4. But if you give a CFO a spreadsheet, he'll make 2 plus 2 equals 11. Okay? But code, you cannot, 2 plus 2 can never be changed. Okay? It's inviolable. So in decentralized finance, how does AI work symbiotically? Okay. Suppose I want to start a trading account and I want the computer. I program it to say, find me the best crypto or best asset. I want it to earn minimum of 20% returns. I want you to scan the environment and see what's the talk of the town, where should we be going, and then I want you to be improving upon it if you don't meet my standards. Okay, that's not a bot. A bot, all it does is what it's programmed to do. But AI is a self-learning entity. It's called an agent. In fact, the presentation I'll be giving on Wednesday will talk about AI agents. So what is decentralized finance combined with artificial intelligence? Okay, so I program with AI, telling the computer, this is what I want, these are my criteria, and then you release it. But you have to give it money. You have to give it seed capital to start investing. Well, an AI doesn't have a license. It doesn't have a proof of a human. He's not a human. So how does he get money from the bank to start? Well,
I'm sorry. My phone keeps going off. I don't know if it's an emergency. No, it's not.
So how do you get this entity that has no license, no passport, how do you get it to start trading for you? So you create a Web3 wallet, which you give access to the AI agent. Now it has the funds, it has the seed capital, it can start doing it for you. So the blockchain was not really created for humans. Thus far, humans have been using it, but the blockchain, we feel, was really created for AI. So that symbiotic relationship is where we are headed. So, but coming back to the Bitcoin, so we talked about transparency, we talked about consensus, and we talked about immutability, because you cannot reverse every block. So it is set in stone.
That quantum physics,
the
quantum computer won't be able to go back and change everything?
No. It won't be do it because they've already quantum proofed it. So it won't be. And it's still about 10 years away. Okay? Yeah, in a lab environment like Google and stuff, yes, they're able to do it. Just like some cryptos in a lab environment can do millions of transactions a second. Visa does, I think, 15,000 a second. Some cryptos can do millions in a lab environment, but in the real world environment, it's not as much. So, it's different in a lab versus the outside. So that's why it is really truth, because it cannot be confiscated, because once cryptocurrencies are a two-edged sword. If you do it right, you can never lose your funds, because once they get registered on the blockchain, they are immutable, they are incorruptible, they are inconfiscatable. But if you do it wrong by sending a crypto to the wrong chain, then you have lost it forever. So if you know what you're doing, it's really smooth sailing because you're working in a very wholesome, truthful, honest environment where,
How do you know which ones to send it to?
well, that's
what your class is
yeah,
about?
that's what we teach. Yeah, and it's all very basic. I know it sounds complicated, but it's not. And so back in April,
I just have like the matrix, a vision of the matrix in my brain.
Yeah.
That's all I can see is like, all the numbers.
yeah, the
and
binary code. Yeah, the in April of 1933, I think it was FDR who confiscated all the gold for the war effort. And he told the American public, turn in all your gold or you'll be fined, I think it was $10,000 a day. Now, in 1933, that was a lot of money. So the public turned all their money, all their gold to the government at like $20.67. Well, next day, the government repriced it to $35. And the American public was absolutely unhappy that they sold the gold at $20+, and next day it's repriced at 35.
That was almost 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And people haven't figured out the government can't be trusted.
Yeah, but with cryptocurrencies, it cannot be confiscated. Once you have taken possession of it, you are the sovereign holder of your crypto. So it cannot be confiscated.
Right, because nobody has your code
No one has the code.
unless you give it to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is why you say never give out your code, keep it in a safe.
Exactly.
Don't leave it laying because it's in it's like a flash drive type deal.
Yeah, yeah.
And
yeah.
you're like, make sure you keep it in a safe.
Yes, yes.
If your house burns down, you have no crypto, because it's a physical thing actually. Because well, you said to write the code down.
Yes.
And then put it in a safe place as well, right?
Yes. Those are called seed words or your private keys. It's like, what's a private key? A public key is like your receiving address,
Right.
your account number. You'll give your account number to anybody because you want them to send you money. But when you're logging in online, will you give your password to anybody?
It's like a bank.
You
Same
won't.
thing with the bank. You give
Yes.
people your account number, but
Yes.
you don't give them your password.
Exactly. So the private keys, instead of a password, it's 24 encrypted words, which you cannot lose. Because if you lose that, then
You've lost all your money.
you've lost all your
because there's no
cryptos.
bank keeping track of it,
Yes. So
which is a good thing because you're cutting out the middleman.
exactly. And now there are cryptocurrencies,
And Visa and all these companies that are ripping small businesses off left and right,
Thank
charging
you.
them 40% on
Thank
a
you.
sale and putting them out of business.
Yes, yes.
And people need to start using cash, or these businesses need to start taking crypto.
Okay, I was just going to say about that. By the way, Karen, day before yesterday, I did a webinar on cryptocurrencies and e-commerce. And it's gotten very good reviews and feedback. So you're exactly on point. There is a cryptocurrency where Arrington Capital with Goldman Sachs last year, they sent $60 million as a test. It was a real life test. It wasn't a lab experiment, okay? They sent $60 million. It took 3 seconds to reach the other person, and the cost was 30 cents. Okay? So
For $16 million.
$60 million.
Can you imagine if they had sent it through wire, through a bank,
Yes.
or used a Visa?
Yes. Okay,
They will charge you. I mean,
Yes, because in international or any wires, it can take 5 to 7 days for the money to get delivered. Up to.
Right.
Suppose I'm sending to a mission in
Oh, I know. We
Kenya.
take wires on a daily basis at
Okay.
my office, and that's why I want you to come talk to my office about getting crypto.
Sure, and I'll send you the link to the webinar. Let them listen to it, and it's all free. They can log in
Right.
and learn and ask me questions. But okay, there are 3 things one must remember. It takes 5 to 7 days for money for cross-border payments. 6% of all international wires are lost. Okay, so you have to put a
The
tracer.
fraud is crazy.
Yeah, or it results in delays. You have to trace it, track it. You cannot find it. Or,
How does it get lost?
well, if you put the wrong SWIFT code or mishandling by the bank. or they read a number wrong.
Right.
You know? And
They just sent me, the government just sent my son's passport, which they had like 3 documents
Yeah.
with his correct name, and they still spelled his name wrong.
Yeah, there you go. So
Now
human
we
error.
had to send it back
Yes.
and reschedule our trip because it didn't get, like, we had to send it back. So it's not going to be here in time.
Right.
And so,
So
yeah.
it results in delays. And the third thing is, so the
Yeah.
first thing was 5 to 7 days. 2, up to 6% of all international wires are lost. And 3, people are from here, they're sending money to their families in Mexico or Thailand.
Right.
Or you know, Western Union is hogging up a minimum of 7.5% of their earnings. People cannot afford to do it. Okay. But now, what
a
if
lot
I?
of people are in poverty in the first
Yes.
place. That's why they're sending Western
They send-
Union.
yes. So, what if I told you that there was a cryptocurrency, instead of 5 to 7 days, anywhere on the planet, it will land in 3 to 5 seconds?
And it's always 100% right.
Okay.
It
What if
never
I
gets lost.
Yes. What if I told you there are 6% losses, up to 0% loss? What if I told you not the 7.5 minimum percent, but 0.001 cent? Of course, if you send $60 million, whoopee, a grand sum of 30 cents. So remember I said 99.9% of cryptocurrencies will fail for one of those 3 reasons: poor code, scam to begin with, or the team loses interest. So 99.9% will fail. But the ones that will survive are the ones that are utility cryptos, that are solving a real world issue.
Like energy.
There are energy tokens. There is a token called EWT, Energy Web Token, which is working with the Deutsche electrical grid. So that's why it's really important. There's always a flavor of the month. There's always a shiny object, but it requires discipline to pick the right ones, and not something that's just like a comet that burns bright. Someone makes a little bit of profit, everyone gets excited, they FOMO into it, and they lose money. But where I guide my people is it's a slow, stodgy, calculated approach. We know where we are headed because when the returns come, they'll be life-changing, possibly generational wealth. So we know where we are going. We don't get distracted.
But you have to wait.
But you have to wait, because look at an aircraft carrier. It takes 10 miles to turn an aircraft carrier around. It's not a speedboat that can spin on a dime. So when you're working with cryptos that are providing utility, try turning a battleship around. It takes time to change the system. And the legacy monetary system, the banks, do you think they want to give up control? Mm-hmm. They are fighting us to the death. But they will lose, because cryptocurrencies are democratizing finance. Anyone on the planet, regardless of color or socioeconomic status, with a mobile phone and an internet connection, can partake in this economy.
Right.
Okay?
You can invest $20.
Yes. Now they're talking about tokenizing. Suppose there is a poor Zulu tribal member in the Sahara, but he loves Picasso. He cannot afford a Picasso. But when you tokenize, he can send 10 shillings or whatever currency they use. It used to be shillings. He can partake. He can buy a small piece of that Picasso. And he gets proof of ownership through something called a NFT, a non-fungible token. Mm-hmm. He can have proof. He has a proof of
it's
ownership.
Kind of like a title insurance. Like I work in title insurance,
Yeah.
and we have to prove the history of any kind of property.
Yes.
Because land is the most valuable thing on the planet.
Yes. Yes.
And so we have to make sure that we go back and follow the path. It's kind of the same concept, really.
The only difference being it's on the blockchain. So it cannot
That's
be
what I'm
messed
saying.
with.
It's kind of the same. So it's kind of put it in a real estate person's
Yes.
perspective, which a lot of my listeners are in the real estate business because that's what I do. But to make them kind of understand it's kind of the same thing. So it's always verifying that it's correct. And you have all these people verifying that it's correct, or there's high risk, so they wouldn't want to be corrupt because then they're going to get blacklisted.
Yes.
It's the same thing in title.
Yeah.
If I was corrupt in this business and I did title wrong,
Yes.
I would be blacklisted.
Right.
Forever.
Right.
And I would never be able to practice real estate again.
Again, yeah.
Right? So it's kind of the same thing. It's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
You know, you want to do things the correct way so that we can continue to move on and make money and do things right. Of course, some of us do things not for money, but because it's the right thing to do.
Yes. Yes.
And we want to help others. And I don't know, I just believe that we should do the right thing. I don't know why that's so hard for other people to make a decision whether to do something right or wrong.
Yeah, but not everybody believes that. But when
I don't feel very good when I don't do the right thing.
True. But when it goes on the blockchain, it forces them to do the right thing because it's all real. A lot of these companies, you know, they have these audits.
Of course, if I could scam a Bitcoin and take off with millions of dollars and disappear, that's pretty tempting.
Yeah.
But I feel like that money would somehow destroy my life. Karma is a real deal.
Oh, karma remembers your address.
Oh, very quick sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, like at home, you know, the kids will do something, messing with each other, and then the other one, something will happen to the other one suddenly.
Yeah.
And we're like, instant karma, you know, like he'll be messing with Rose and then he'll spill his orange juice all over himself. And we're like, instant karma, instant karma, you know. It does. Sometimes it's instant and sometimes it's way down the line.
Yeah.
And it's not worth it. But people, like you said, people just don't get it. But there's things in place to make sure that doesn't happen. And from the way you're explaining it to me and the research that I have done and the documentaries, I've watched documentaries about Bitcoin. I've watched documentaries about cryptocurrency, trying to understand all of this because I didn't want to come to you like a total dodo brain. Like, what are we, you know, I don't want to come in there with zero knowledge. I feel like that would be a lot for you to try to explain to me. I wanted to come in with a basis, so then when you explain it to me, I can kind of visualize it a little bit better, so I understand. Because I'm the kind of person, I really need to understand things the best I can, and I don't like to just kind of half-ass stuff. You know, I want to do it all the way, and so I watched all these documentaries because you have on here. Cryptocurrency is anonymous. It's unregulated. It's non-taxable. It's illegal. It's a bubble.
But it's not anonymous.
It's not. It's none of these things.
Correct.
And those are things I thought it was unregulated. I thought that it was not illegal, but just like some kind of random, you know, people out there doing God knows what with fake money on the internet. I'd had zero understanding of what it really was. Now, I will tell you, I have known about Bitcoin probably since the very beginning, because I have a brilliant nephew.
Yes, you mentioned that.
Who went to UT when he was 17 on an academic scholarship. Yeah. And he came to me and said, you need to invest in Bitcoin. It's this brand new thing. I mean, this was like 2015.
Okay, that's when I got in. Yeah.
The regret is real, okay? My grandma told me a long time ago that you don't regret the things you do, you regret the things you don't do.
Yeah, right.
That's one of my big regrets, because I wanted to take $500 and put it into Bitcoin because I trusted my nephew, because I knew he was a little genius and he would not steer me wrong. And my father-in-law, it was actually my ex-husband's nephew, but I love the kid. He's my nephew. And I've known him, you know, forever. But my father-in-law is really a brilliant guy as well, and he invested. He was like, I was like, if he's going to do it, I should do it.
But you didn't.
I didn't, because my ex-husband at the time, he's very non-tech. He did not know how to use an email at this point. And he did not understand how the internet really worked. He only had worked on the intranet at work.
Yes.
So he didn't understand the concept that you could check your email from any device.
Yeah.
Things like
Yeah.
He had zero technology skills. So trying to even explain to him, because I was like, $500, let's just, why not?
Yes.
You know, let's try it.
Yes.
And he was like, no, I don't know what that is. That sounds like a scam, blah, blah, blah.
That was 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah. That $500 today, because I got in at the same time, would be over $100,000, which is
It makes me sick.
It's more than the average annual household income, one Bitcoin. So, but the universe has a way of knocking a second time and saying,
That is correct.
You have another
And here we
chance.
are. I met you.
You have another
And
chance.
the minute I heard about what you did, I was like, I want in. Of course, I had, right after I met you, I was coming to you trying to get in. And then my son, had the incident.
Yeah.
So, I really was just concentrating on him.
Of
So I
course.
kind of stepped away. But now he's doing pretty good. He still can't drive.
Yeah.
He still has limitations, but he's doing good. I mean, his spirits are up. You can tell he's just
Good.
physically,
Good.
he's probably back mostly. It's still like the headaches and the vision and stuff.
I'd love to meet him sometime.
You haven't met him yet?
Never.
Oh.
See, you can bring him for coffee.
I feel bad because you've prayed for him for
Yes.
me. You even fasted
I have
for
fasted.
him.
Yes.
And
To
I
me-
truly believe in the power of prayer.
Well, I tell you, fasting, I look at it as a privilege. If somebody asks me to do it,
I didn't ask you to do that. I would never ask somebody to do that.
Well,
I wouldn't even do it.
But whenever I take it upon
I
myself,
get hangry.
it's a privilege for me.
Yeah.
I look forward to fasting for people.
How do you not get hangry?
No, I'm okay. But okay. But you said many things, but I did want you to know this, and I think I made a note of it. People ask, "Is it too late? Have I missed the boat?"
And that's another thing I thought.
Look, there's only 6.8% of the global population that's in cryptos. Okay,
So you better get in now.
There's only 20% of the U.S. population, which is about 58 million people that are in cryptos. In other words, we're in the first inning. But
Eventually, it'll probably be the worldwide currency.
it is, because even today I got a thing. I think North Carolina is proceeding with a Bitcoin reserve. 14 out of 14 states in the U.S. have already started Bitcoin reserves. The Congress now, after Trump is launching an ETF, a Bitcoin ETF.
What is an ETF?
It's a exchange traded fund, which is like the big hedge funds are holding the paper. Like, if people are not very comfortable buying
Right.
a Bitcoin, it's like buying a stock,
Okay.
a piece of paper. When you do that, you are violating the fundamental principles of cryptocurrency,
Right, because it's
which
supposed
is
to be free trade and not have.
if you don't hold it, you don't own it. What does that mean? You have $100,000 in the bank. You go to the bank teller and you say, I need to withdraw 50 grand. She'll ask you 50,000 questions. Why? What you going to do with it? We don't think. And you're telling her, it's my money. Give me 50,000. Well, she calls the
It's none of
manager.
your business.
Yeah, she calls the manager. The manager has 50,000 questions. At the end of it, he says, we don't have so much money. You'll have to go downtown and get it. So you're fuming because it's your money. But is it your money? No, it's the bank's money.
Right.
You have
And
the
they're
same,
using it
and
to
they're
make
using
money.
It. Yes.
And you're not getting anything.
You're not getting anything. That same 100,000, you go to the ATM machine. How much can you pull out? 250? It's your money.
Yeah.
But they are holding it. They are telling you what to do. Not so with cryptocurrencies. When you hold it, you own it, nobody can confiscate.
Yeah, you have to
it.
call the bank and say, hey, I need to pull out this much money so they
Yes.
can release. And that's
And they need
for
a
a
few days.
protection as well, I think, so that if you get compromised and somebody's trying to steal your money, like especially with an ATM. Plus, ATMs don't have that much money in them. It's not like there's $100,000 sitting around in every ATM machine.
Yep.
They're not in there making money. There's not a little magical guy in there, leprechaun, like, pew, pew, pew,
Yep.
And
That's another heavy conversation on how this one cryptocurrency is solving the global.
That's the reason I like cash, is because you cut out the middleman.
Yep.
But the problem with cash is, well, for one, I lose it sometimes. Two, it's dirty. And a lot of places don't take cash anymore. And that makes me cringe. Like Cynthia Woods Pavilion, they don't
Yep.
take cash anymore. And so I just refuse to buy anything. I'm not going to, especially if you're going to go like buy a drink at the bar.
Yep.
And I want to have my margarita while I'm watching my concert. I'm not going to give them my debit card because I've multiple times in places like that, I've had money stolen from me from bartenders.
Oh,
And I say
okay.
multiple, probably 3 or 4 times in my life, but it's
Yeah.
enough for me. I spent a lot more time in bars when I was younger. Okay. I was a little bit of a wild child. But I
Yeah.
mean, I think all of us did when we were kids, you know. But I, I have a lack of trust and faith in a lot of people. And it's not a great way to live, probably, just because I'm a little paranoid a lot. Probably because my dad, too, is like a conspiracy theorist and doesn't trust anybody and he's totally cynical. And he talks bad about my grandpa being so cynical. And I'm like, you're literally just like him. He's probably listening to the show right now, Dad. He's literally turned into my grandpa.
But you'd be a natural for cryptos because you want to be skeptical, on guard,
Yeah.
because this space can be treacherous.
You're going to make me your prodigy?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is, for anyone that's listening, this is a good time to
get in.
Get in, yes.
Well, yeah. Don't
Because
wait.
Those that missed out, Google and Apple and Facebook, well, the universe has given all
right.
of us a second chance.
And it's only going to keep getting more expensive.
100%.
It's just like land.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, yes, houses will depreciate. Land does not depreciate.
Yep.
Dirt does not depreciate.
Yep.
Resources do not depreciate. Never in the history of the world has land depreciated. It is the most valuable thing on the planet. Quit selling your land off for money. Quit selling your family's inheritance land for money.
Yes.
Hang on to it. Hang on to it. It's the most valuable thing you have.
Yes.
And so cryptocurrency is probably now the second most valuable thing.
Yes.
After doing all my research, that's when I was like, all right, it's time to have him on the show. I have a little bit of an understanding now, so I can have a conversation with him that sounds somewhat intellectual. And 2, I truly believe in it now. I really am 100% in. I came to you a few weeks ago and was like, I'm in. I'm in. Because at first when I met you, I was kind of like, I don't know. I felt like I missed the boat. Now it's going to be super expensive to get in. And then I start meeting all these people that are raving about you've helped them so much. And I mean, just testimony after testimony after testimony. Yeah. You don't have to have a lot of money.
No.
And I love the story of the guy who cashed in his 401k, which was making him no money. Yeah. He paid the 10% penalty because it's just the 10% penalty. Yeah. And he has made like tenfold that back in cryptocurrency. Yeah. He's like, I should have cashed all of my 401k. And I'm like, why don't you do that? He's like, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna go. I'm like, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I tell people that. Like, maybe invest in some real estate is a great place to also invest.
Yes.
But definitely, I feel like cryptocurrency is the second best place to, well, I don't know, probably better than real estate because you're going to make a lot more money in a short term than in real estate. Most of the time, not always, but I mean, there's people that flip stuff here and make $300,000 in a day. So you just never know, but absolutely. And so RAVI has a class coming up.
A presentation,
A presentation. Yeah. It's cryptocurrencies and blockchain. Dick's going to throw that up on the screen so that you can see. It's February 12th, which is this Wednesday from 6 to 7:30. Yes. You had another class that I signed up for. Remind me again. It was during the day. Is that lunchtime?
Well, that's
the one for work, for me to present to my office. It was about businesses or something.
No, the other presentation I have is at the Woodlands Chamber of Commerce. That's on February 20th.
And that one is about?
Same thing.
The same thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was about how it applies to like small businesses or something. I don't remember. Maybe I'm confused.
I haven't signed up.
Okay. But is it at like lunchtime? Is that correct?
This one is from 6 to 7:30 in the evening.
And the other one's February 20th at the Chamber of Commerce in the Woodlands.
And I think that's from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock.
I think that's the one that I signed up on.
Oh, did you sign up?
I think. Okay. I signed up on one of them.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember.
And the attendance is beginning to go up as people are becoming aware of cryptos. There's
becoming aware of you.
There's more and more interest.
I feel like you know everybody now. How long have you lived in the Woodlands?
I don't live in the Woodlands. I live in Atascocita.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, how long have you lived there?
Almost 3.5 years, because I flew in from Shanghai to Houston.
I think I have it. Where is this? I don't have that one on my. I don't know where. Maybe I missed it. Did you just have a class?
Yeah, at the chamber, but I can resend you.
Okay.
Either I'll send you both, the 12th, which is Wednesday evening,
Okay.
or the 20th during the day.
Yeah, I can do that one. I can't do the evening. We have basketball practice.
Okay.
But yeah, so thank you for coming on the show.
You're most welcome. Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
Well, I mean, I'm sure I'm going to have lots of questions,
Okay.
but I would love to have you back. I know there's several people on the show that I feel like we need to have you back to talk more about it and explain it a little bit better, and especially when there's changes happening.
Yes.
Like you were talking about Trump's making some changes.
Yes.
And so I feel like that's something that we need to have you back on the show to talk about those changes, and maybe if you have more classes coming up for opportunity for people who are kind of like pondering it right now, want to do a little research and come back to it. That way you can, and also all your information is listed in the description. So if they want to call you or whatever, they can
Okay.
reach you and
Yep.
see about classes. But
Yep, yep.
I highly recommend, if you're remotely interested in making money, which I don't know anybody that's not. I know 5-year-olds that are interested in making money.
Yeah.
So I would reach out to Ravi. He's extremely knowledgeable and has a very high list of recommendations. I haven't heard a bad thing about you
Thank you.
at all.
Thank you.
And you can find him every Friday at Coffee Connections from 9 to 10:30.
Yes.
It's at the kitchen. He's usually in a Hawaiian shirt.
Yep.
All right, guys.
And I think next time we'll talk about some deeper concepts of nostro, vostro accounts. We'll go a little deeper into the applications of cryptos.
Yeah, let us sink
Digest,
this in.
yeah.
And then that'll be awesome. Thank
Sounds
you,
good.
Ravi.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
see
you.
y'all. The show is this Wednesday at 1 p.m.
Good.
All right, bye-bye.